The Western media is reporting about U.S. troops in Taiwan, and they're claiming they've been there for a year. It was a total secret. Absolutely no one knew about it until just now. And they've only revealed this because of all the provocations from Beijing against Taiwan. Now, this is a complete lie, and I wish I could take credit for uncovering it, but actually someone pointed this out to me. But I want to show you the article, the Wall Street Journal. U.S. troops have been deployed in Taiwan for at least a year. Small presence of Americans secretly training local forces marks concern over China's years-long military buildup and recent moves. And it's behind a paywall, but you could just hop over to The Guardian. Secret group of U.S. military trainers has been in Taiwan for at least a year. And they're talking about 24 U.S. Special Forces soldiers and an unspecified number of Marines training Taiwanese forces. This is the first time they have been on the island since 1979, and that's when Washington established diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China, the Communist Party of China in Beijing. And at the same time, they cut diplomatic relations with the Republic of China in Taiwan. This is part of the one China policy. The United States recognizes only one China, including Taiwan, and they only officially recognize one government, the one in Beijing, not the one in Taipei. And so the US, by putting US forces in Taiwan, has de facto invaded and occupied Chinese territory. That is what they have basically done. Now let's go back to this Guardian article. A Pentagon spokesman, John Subble, would not comment directly on the report, but noted that our support for and defense relationship with Taiwan remains aligned against the current threat from China. And then they're going to say the report of a U.S. military presence in Taiwan comes after a series of escalatory signals in the Indo-Pacific. China flew nearly 150 military planes, including bombers and fighter jets, into Taiwan's air defense zone over the first 4 days of October. So that was relatively recent. And that's their air defense zone, which is completely different than their airspace. And I'll explain that in detail in just a moment. But this is what they're lying about. Let's look. The Diplomat. November 2020, U.S. Marine raiders arrive in Taiwan to train Taiwanese Marines. Marine Special Forces, both Taiwanese but also American, will play a crucial role in defeating a large-scale Chinese invasion of Taiwan. And they're saying the same thing that we just read in the Guardian article, but they were saying it last year. And they're getting it from this article here. From Taiwan News, 2020, November, U.S. Marines officially training in Taiwan for first time since 1979. So everybody who was paying attention to Taiwan knew about this last year, including Beijing. And then this happened. Same month, last year, Marine raiders weren't training in Taiwan. Department of Defense insists. Again, check out the date, November 2020. Here's our buddy John Subble again. The reports about U.S. Marines on Taiwan are inaccurate. The United States remains committed to our One China policy based on the 3 joint communiques, Taiwan Relations Act, and 6 assurances. What is he talking about? These are all the agreements the U.S. made with Beijing in regards to Taiwan, that it was part of China. There's only one China, and Taiwan was part of it. The United States only recognizes one government in China, the one in Beijing. They do not officially recognize the one in Taipei. To illustrate this, let's look at this. This is the U.S. Embassy and consulates in China, U.S. Embassy Beijing. That's where they have their embassy. Do they have one in Taiwan? U.S. Embassy in Taiwan. If you type that into Google, this is what comes back. The American Institute in Taiwan. It's a de facto embassy of the United States of America in Taiwan. This is what the website looks like. So you notice there's no embassy seal here. The American Institute in Taiwan, not the embassy, the American Institute, and vice versa. The Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office in the United States, because Taiwan does not have an embassy in the US because it's not a country, it's part of China. Now, you might still be skeptical. So let's take a look at one of those communiques, John Subble of the Pentagon, who lied about US troops being in Taiwan last year, but now is kind of admitting it. Let's take a look at one of those communiques. So this is from the US State Department's official website. the Office of the Historian. This is 1972. This is the Shanghai Communique, or the first communique. And if we scroll down here, the United States acknowledges that all Chinese on either side of the Taiwan Strait maintain there is but one China and that Taiwan is a part of China. The United States government does not challenge that position. It reaffirms its interest in a peaceful settlement of the Taiwan question by the Chinese themselves. With this prospect in mind, it affirms the ultimate objective of the withdrawal of all U.S. forces and military installations from Taiwan. In the meantime, it will progressively reduce its forces and military installations on Taiwan as the tension in the area diminishes. So you can see how the U.S. sending troops back to Taiwan the first time since 1979 is a huge, blatant violation of this agreement and a massive provocation against Beijing. And so they did this last year. It was reported on in the Western media last year. And now the Western media is saying, oh, this is just being revealed now. It was a total secret. No one knew about it. And we're just revealing it now because look at these provocations. Look at China flying these warplanes near Taiwan. Now let's get into that a little bit. CNN has two articles that I'm going to show you. And CNN is going to kind of debate itself here, or contradict itself, or reveal its own hypocrisy here. So let's take a look at the first article. 5 things to know about China's record surge of warplanes near Taiwan. Notice it's near Taiwan, not over Taiwan, near Taiwan. China's record number of incursions of warplanes into Taiwan's defense zone. Defense zone is not the same as airspace, and they're going to admit that. Even in this article, they're going to admit that. A mix of nearly 150 People's Liberation Army Air Force fighter jets, nuclear-capable bombers, anti-submarine aircraft, and airborne early warning and control planes have entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, ADIZ, since Friday, according to Taiwan's defense minister. And they even have a little tweet here from the Ministry of National Defense, Taiwan, their official Twitter account. While the Chinese flights have not come close to what Taiwan considers its sovereign airspace, 12 nautical miles from its coastlines, they have entered an area, the ADIZ, where Taipei says it'll respond to any incursion. And CNN never explains exactly what an ADIZ is. Because if they did, you would realize China is flying its warplanes in international airspace, even if Taiwan was a country and had its own sovereign airspace, which it doesn't. Let's go to this tweet, though. This is really important before moving on. I want to show you what Taiwan considers its air defense identification zone, and I want to show you where these Chinese warplanes were flying. So let's zoom in a little bit here, and you'll notice that the air defense identification zone extends all the way over mainland China. So they're trying to claim that Chinese warplanes, even flying over mainland China soil, are still somehow violating Taiwan's air defense identification zone. It's utterly absurd. And if we go back here, you can see that these Chinese warplanes are not even coming close to Taiwan's airspace. And to be fair, because almost every nation on earth, including the United States, recognizes the one China policy, by right, China could just fly straight over Taiwan if they wanted to, but they're not, because they are committed to resolving the Taiwan issue peacefully. It is the United States who's trying to instigate a conflict here. It is the people in the Taiwanese government working with the United States trying to instigate a conflict here. It is not China, and you can see that clear as day by just looking at this map. They're not anywhere near Taiwan. Now let's look at the second CNN article where they actually do explain in great detail what an ADIZ is and how meaningless it is, and how if it's violated, it means absolutely nothing. And do you know why they go through all these lengths explaining it? Because they're talking about China's own ADIZ. It's really interesting. Let's take a look. Why China's new air zone incensed Japan, US. And this is from 2013, so it's quite a while ago. But look at China's air defense identification zone. It's right here. It overlaps Japan's ADIZ. It doesn't overlap Japan's sovereign airspace. And it doesn't do anything ridiculous like extend over Tokyo or something. And so this is what they're talking about. And they're saying this is meaningless. It's unilaterally imposed, has no legal basis, and it's basically it's international airspace. So we come down here. What is an air defense identification zone? The ADIZ is not a new concept. So they're admitting it's not China just making this up. It's essentially a buffer zone outside a country's sovereign airspace. Several countries, including the United States and Japan, have established ADIZ in international airspace. In international airspace next to their nations. A foreign aircraft traveling in an ADIZ can be required to identify itself for entry into that country's airspace. And so an expert from Jane's Defense Weekly, he says, it is unilaterally imposed, so it doesn't really have a legal basis and isn't based on negotiation with neighbors. Its purpose is to give the country an early warning zone in which it can intercept potentially unfriendly aircraft. So this older CNN article is exposing this more recent propaganda campaign against China as exactly that. It's propaganda. These warplanes are in international airspace. They're not anywhere close to Taiwan. And so this provocation they're trying to make it out as, this is a complete fabrication. This is what the Western media does all the time ahead of every war of aggression the US has ever fought. They need to make it look like China is the aggressor when it is the US blatantly provoking China. We talked about a de facto US embassy in Taiwan that is not an official embassy, and so US troops showing up in Taiwan. What is that? That is a de facto invasion and occupation of Chinese territory. That is what it is. This is what has provoked China. China is not provoking anybody. And it's as clear as day. And I'm getting this information straight from the Western media, straight from the US State Department's official website. It's irrefutable. There is nothing to say back about this. The US is picking a fight with China right off its coast. They have US troops in Chinese territory right off the coast of the mainland. It's inexcusable, and it's leading to a very, very dangerous conflict. And I've pointed this out many times before. This is the 2016 RAND Corporation document, War with China, Thinking Through the Unthinkable. If you come to page 9, they're going to talk about a regional and conventional war. And this is designed to impact China's economy, not defeat them militarily, cripple their economy only. And they're talking about it unfolding mainly in East Asia. And they're saying that's where all of the potential Sino-US flashpoints are and where nearly all Chinese forces are located, because China is not going all around the world looking for fights. It's the US crossing the entire Pacific and coming right up to China's coast, putting US troops in Taiwan, picking this fight with China. And one of these Sino-US flashpoints is Taiwan. It's even mentioned in this document. Let's go to page 14. The importance of non-military factors. So I said this is not going to be the US trying to defeat China militarily. They cannot, not at this point. But what they can do is destroy their economy. And that is what they're talking about. That's what these non-military factors are. Let's read. The prospect of a military standoff means that the war could eventually be decided by non-military factors. These should favor the United States now and in the future. Although war would harm both economies, damage to China's could be catastrophic and lasting, on the order of a 25 to 35% reduction in Chinese gross domestic product, GDP, in a year-long war, compared with the reduction in US GDP on the order of 5 to 10%. Even a mild conflict, unless ended promptly, could weaken China's economy. A long and severe war could ravage China's economy, stall its hard-earned development, and cause widespread hardship and dislocation. Such economic damage could in turn aggravate political turmoil and embolden separatists in China. And I've talked many times about how the separatists in Xinjiang, Tibet, Hong Kong, and also Taiwan, all of them, separatists in all of these regions, are backed by the US, and they have been for decades. That was what the US was doing before 1979. They had their military based in Taiwan, working hard to carve Taiwan off of China. And, I always show people this one all the time as well. Again, this is from the Office of the Historian, 1964. Tibetan operations, the CIA Tibetan activity consists of political action, propaganda, and paramilitary activity. It's really as simple as that. That's what they were doing back in the 60s. That's what they're doing now. And this is what they're doing with Taiwan. It was an unending process of encircling and containing China and dismembering it from within as well. This is what they're doing. They want to integrate China into a US-dominated global system. They will not coexist with China. That will never happen. They will never accept that unless they are made to accept that. They will never agree to that willingly. And just to show you how irrational Taiwanese independence is as an idea, I want to show you some statistics about Taiwan's economy. This is where Taiwan imported from in 2019. China is their largest partner there. And exports, 31, almost 32% from mainland China and almost 12% from Hong Kong. And if you add those together, that by far is Taiwan's largest export market. That is an export market they cannot replace with any other partner in the world, certainly not with the US. Taiwan's economy is being integrated with the mainland. It is part of China, and its economy is being integrated with the rest of China. For Taiwan, declaring independence would mean gutting its economy, cutting its economy off and just bleeding out in a way much worse than Australia is doing to itself right now. And the United States doesn't care. They know this. They know how absurd the notion of the independence is for Taiwan, how it serves absolutely no one's best interests in Taiwan. They may have convinced these people that it's in their own best interests, but they know in reality it isn't. And I like to compare the notion of Taiwanese independence to the notion of jumping off a building and flying. It's a great dream to have for some people, but if you ever tried to put it into practice, it would end in disaster. And the same goes for Taiwanese independence. And so when you put all of this together, the US putting troops in Taiwan, this is a de facto invasion and occupation of Chinese territory. It is extremely provocative. They got caught lying about it last year. The media is lying about it this year, pretending like no one knew about this when it was reported last year. And denied last year. They didn't mention any of that. How could that possibly be? I mean, what else is the Wall Street Journal doing other than journalism? They don't have anything else other to do. I was thinking about doing this video just today, and I had conversations with some people that I know, and some people shared information with me, and I was able to figure this out in a day. The Wall Street Journal was supposed to be one of the most renowned journalistic institutions on earth, and yet they didn't know that. I don't believe that. We're trending towards very dangerous times. The US is doing this in Taiwan. They've got the Uyghur Tribunal going on in the UK. This is organized by a Uyghur separatist organization funded by the US government. It is a complete circus. It is absolute utter theater. They're going to announce their final ruling in December, right ahead of the Beijing Olympics. And we've got the South China Sea issue. The US is always constantly trying to leverage and transform into a conflict. And so we have to be very careful. The US is fishing for that conflict before the window of opportunity closes, and China irreversibly surpasses the US economically and militarily. If you thought this video was useful, please like and share it. Please share it. Please share this with people who are uninformed about what is going on between China, the US, and Taiwan. A lot of people in the West have no idea that Taiwan is not a real country. They have no idea that the US agreed to this, that it's on the US State Department's official website. It's irrefutable. And if you think that this video is too complicated or too long, I want to highly recommend this video by Nury. He's a journalist based in Hong Kong, and his video is 1.5 minutes long. It is very, very short. And it's basically just showing you this lie about the Western media claiming this was all a secret and it's just coming out now. And he will show you all of the headlines from last year. And so if people can't, absorb all of this information about the agreements, the communiques, the history, they can at least absorb that. Someone explaining the main crux of this lie. And that could be a starting point for people to get their minds open to the fact that they might be being misled again by the Western media, just like Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Ukraine, Hong Kong, and now Taiwan. It's happening all over again, and Nury's video is very straight to the point and concise and exposes this lie. So please at least share that with other people. In the video description below, all of these links will be there, including Nury's video. I will put that one at the top so it's easy to find. There's also ways there to help support my work. To everyone who is supporting my work, whether it's through Patreon month to month or one-time donations, or even if you're just liking and sharing my work, this is a tremendous help. I could not do this work without that help, so thank you. And as always, thank you for watching.